Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to You Bet CaneSport with Lee Sterling, our weekly look at the Miami Hurricanes from the bettor's perspective. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined by Lee Sterling himself of Paramount Sports, the place to go if you want all your winning picks during the football season and beyond. And Lee, you've had quite the track record this year. We'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. But first, we must rejoice. We must celebrate because, yes, the Miami Hurricanes, for the first time really this season, if we don't count the Bethune-Cookman game, covered the spread in a football game. And Lee, they did it handily this time around. Georgia Tech was a totally misguided favorite in that game up in Atlanta last week. And Miami clearly was a much better team and did not need to do a whole heck of a lot to win that game.
Well, it was close for a long time, believe it or not. So they were the better team. And, in the end, the margin was pretty large, and that's the way we like it. We don't have to sweat out games, but a lot of things that we liked, we saw. Troy Brown, obviously, is interesting and fun to watch. And he might be the better fit for this offense going forward. So you have that run-pass threat from a quarterback. We've seen a lot of the best teams, and when you got that going for you, we're going to face a team like that in Clemson this week. You may not be the best quarterback going forward as far as being a pro prospect, but college game, it's all about being diversified and having both of those threats. And so overall, I like what I saw. I was a little shocked that, after a week where you win, you got two guys that say they're leaving. So that was a little unusual.
Get used to that.
No,
that's going to be happening.
Oh, I know that. But I expected it. Let's say we lose to Clemson. Then, right before the last game you started, you don't expect it after your best win of the season. So a little shocked at that.
It's about that time where guys that know they're going into the transfer portal don't want to get hurt. And, listen, I'm setting the over-under at about 23, okay, on this transfer portal thing for Miami. I'm expecting we are expecting 20 to 30 departures into the portal this year. And so I'm not surprised at all that we are starting to see them now. But it's going to be a very turbulent next several weeks. There's no doubt about it.
I don't have a problem with it. I think it's, in the end, I feel bad for the kids. Everyone wants to play. You got 85 kids on scholarship or somewhere around that number, and you can only play really like 35, 38 kids on a consistent basis. So the rest of them, kids get impatient, parents do too, and you got to leave it to the coach. Trust me, they're not playing a kid. They're not playing favorites. They're playing the best kids that give them the best chance to win games here. So going forward, we're going to hear a lot of things. And also, I go to a lot of high school games, Gary. Let me tell you something. If you think that only the Miami kids are good, I actually think over the last 8-10 years, I think the Miami kids are a little overrated. So I go to and watch these games, and they're talented, but you give me a 4-star lately in some of these other cities, a kid that is under the radar compared to a 4-star where everyone is after him, all the SEC teams and the top teams. Some of these kids from different states and cities are outworking the kids from South Florida. So you're still going to hear about the successes of South
Georgia
Florida.
Kids are coming on. Georgia high school football has really taken a step forward the past several years.
It has. And you have to understand that. And the coaches have to go after the best kid. We can't, be beholden to just going after South Florida kids and a set number. We want kids that want to be here, that are committed, and are going to work their off to be the best players they can. And whatever the mix is every year, it is what it is. But I think it's going to be fun. I know we hit rock bottom a couple weeks ago, but sometimes that happens. And I think at the end, the journey, if you go through a tough journey, and we as fans go live it through, watching these games and supporting the U. In the end, I think Mario is going to be the guy.
All right. So I mentioned Georgia high school football,
Yep.
and we've got a product of Georgia high school football who emerged as the starting quarterback last week at Georgia Tech. And it was a very, very tightly reined in offense that we saw. They didn't ask him to do too much. And for this particular game, it was very effective. And you noted that the score was close for a while, which it is going to be when you play that type of approach and you don't really have a passing game. But Miami was really in control of the game the whole way, and would have won by a couple touchdowns even if they didn't get all the interceptions. I think that was pretty obvious. So, but what I want to know from you is how that impacts this week, because now you're going to Clemson on the road against one of the best teams in the conference, if not the country, and you're probably going to need to score a little bit more. Yet, when we look at the point total, Lee, of this game, it has been set at 48 points, okay, which, is pretty conservative, right? I mean, for this game, are the odds makers taking into consideration the idea that Ja'Carri Brown could start again this week, which he will if Tyler Van Dyke is not ready, and they are applying that to the point total as they're setting it?
Yeah, I do think that they do that, and I do think that Brown will start again. That's my educated guess, based on the line. I think if Tyler was to start, you might see the line shrink to 16.5, 17. So you got to make some changes. You can't just, run the same basic offense against Clemson. You've got to push the ball down the field a little bit more. Ja'Carri does some of the basic things well, but he doesn't see second and third receivers at this time well enough probably to beat a good team. So a lot of things would have to go right for Miami to win. Probably need a couple turnovers go our way. We'd probably need to play error-free football or the most have one turnover. I say you got to try to disrupt Clemson. So I was watching their game again last week against Louisville. They do a lot of quarterback draws, and they can't push the ball down the field that well. Their receivers are improved. Their best receiver is a true freshman, Antonio Williams, number 0. Good player, 6 foot, 180. A lot of stuff underneath. In fact, I think only one of the receivers averages more than like 12 yards per reception. So I think that you got to blitz Stevenson some. You got to blitz Williams some. You got to disrupt things. You got to try to force turnovers. You can't sit back in a base defense against. You got to blitz probably 35 or 40% of the time minimum. I'd even approach 50% against a team like this. They run a lot of quarterback draws. They use their tight end. We do this some also. You line him up behind the tackle, and as soon as the play starts, he'll go the opposite direction. They do a lot of stuff like that as a blocker, as a receiver. So you got to, when you see that and you got your keys in, you got to try to come after them. So they're good. Shipley is really good in the red zone for Clemson. Once they get on inside the 20, they convert often, and they do a lot of quarterback draws, obviously, with Ugalele. And then also Brian Bruze, their real good defensive tackles, been excellent. So they've had some injuries. Some of their other defensive linemen, they actually blitz more than you would think. So I think they're going to try to disrupt Brown.
Yeah, of course.
They can't. They're coming after us.
They're coming.
I would actually. So I think Miami's improved, and I think we might match up real well with Pittsburgh in the last game of the year. But in this game, I think Clemson's probably the right side if it stays under 3 touchdowns. I think they're going to win this game something like 35-13. So it's right on the total.
Right on the total.
Right on the total.
You mentioned the blitzing, and that really hasn't been Kevin Steele's style this season. And a lot of it was due to the secondary issues that they had earlier in the season where they kept giving up cheap touchdowns. And so, obviously it was a little bit better last week at Georgia Tech. Cam Kinchins had the great game, 3 interceptions. He's now the nation's leader in interceptions. I'm wondering whether Cam Kinchins taken the next step forward here, is going to give Kevin Steele the safety net to blitz a little bit more in this game. And
he's got to. Let me make a couple observations. I think James Williams is a linebacker going forward.
No, there's no question.
I don't think he can't cover. He can't cover. He just can't cover receivers well enough. And he can lay some licks on people. I think Tyreek Stevenson is a strong safety. I don't think he's a cornerback. So play these guys to their strength. That would be my suggestion here. And, if they hang around, they come back for another year, both of these guys. I think Williams has to come back. But
he'll be, Tyreek
Stevenson could go pro. I would think about moving Stevenson to strong safety and Williams to weak side linebacker. Let him blitz. I mean, the guy likes to. He can make plays from sideline to sideline. He can force fumbles.
Yeah,
let's have fun. Let's go after people. Let's make people worry about some of the guys we have on defense.
All right, those are questions for the offseason and going into next season, and we'll see what Tyreek does in his decision to go pro. So you mentioned the line, which right now is at 19. Miami's a 19-point underdog. If Tyler Van Dyke is announced as a starter, you said you expect that to very quickly go to 16, which would make sense, 16, 17. So let's look at this both ways, okay? Mm-hmm. Let's assume that you're right, and Jakari starts the game on Saturday. 19 points. Which side you lining up on?
I take Clemson. I take Clemson either way.
Either way.
I take Clemson more with Tyler because I don't know if he lasts the whole game. I just don't see it happening.
and you get the benefit of those 3 points.
Right.
I got it.
Or at least probably 2 points. So the public thinks Tyler Van Dyke is a better quarterback and probably is a better pro set, or pro style quarterback.
Well, you get a downfield passing game with Tyler.
Right.
Tyler, had last year, the last 6 games of the year, he threw for over 300 yards, different offense, different receivers, but he did throw for over 300 yards. He had almost a 500-yard game this year. So he's capable of really putting up some big numbers throwing the football. I don't think you're at that point with Jakari Brown. So
what do you think? What do you think the chances are he starts, Gary?
I don't know. I mean, they say he's getting better. I'm sure he's trying to test it in practice.
I'd be shocked. I'd be surprised, and I think at best he's 75%. And I personally wouldn't play a quarterback.
Unless probably makes more sense to just finish out the year with Jakari and let Tyler get healthy for next year. And hopefully, that they're making progress with locking him up to come back next year.
Another thing we haven't talked about is Knighton looked good, and I know he has a propensity to fumble. He adds a different dimension to the offense, and I think you can work with a kid. Who's
Harris will be healthy this week. He'll play, and they've got Don Chaney ready to go as well. So
I think I play both those guys, and they give you the best chance to win. So if Chaney can give you 12, 15 carries and Knighton 12, 15 carries, catch some balls out of the backfield.
Parrish. Get them involved in the passing game a little bit.
Right.
You never know. All right. So you're Clemson, and are you on the upper side of the 48 number or the lower side of the 48 number?
Probably go above it a little if I have to choose one side. I mean, they could score mid to upper 30s, and things go right. Miami can score in the upper teens to lower 20s. So,
okay. All right. So we're taking the over, and Lee says take Clemson laying the points in this game. All right. A couple other games that I wanted to talk to you about. Michigan is at home against Illinois, and they're laying 17.5 points in that game. Is Michigan starting to get overvalued, or do you find that line attractive?
I don't think so. Michigan, they've got a shot to beat Ohio State. I suspect that line's going to be 7.5 next week when they go to Ohio State. Their offense is underrated. They have the number one defense. They're allowing 11 points per game. They only allow 72 yards rushing per game. They have the number 4 rushing offense, number 5 passing offense. They're very balanced. I think they're better up front than Ohio State. Now, problem here for Illinois, they had played well, but the teams that they have beaten were nothing special. Their running back Brown got nicked up or possibly hurt the last play of the game and struggled to leave the field. So why he was in at that point, who knows? But just feel that Michigan's the better team. How Blake Corum is not even in the top 5, I saw. Probably Heisman voting is crazy. I think he's got like 1,300 yards already with 2 regular season games to play. Maybe he's not the best back in the country, but one of the top teams and the best running back from that group. So I just think that, Illinois is a team that has a quarterback that is fine when they're playing a similar team or they're playing a team they're better than. He can make some things happen with his legs and scrambling and buying time. But against this Michigan defense, not going to happen. Also, important is Illinois' best cornerback and their slot cornerback. Their best cornerback's out, slot cornerback's a game-time decision. If they're without 2 of the top 3 cornerbacks, don't be surprised with Michigan, which is not known to throw the ball more than 15 to 20 times a game. They might use some play action, go up top. So at home, laying 17.5, I think they bury Illinois, something like 45-17.
All right. Does that one go to your clients?
Possible.
Possible. How about the Miami game? Does the Miami game go to your clients? No. Too big a line probably.
But next week, it might set up. Obviously, I want Miami to win every game,
right?
And to look well.
But Miami Pittsburgh might be one that you like.
It might be something that might work out.
All right. One other game I wanted to look at: the Georgia Bulldogs. Everyone's picked to win the national title. They are going on the road to play a Kentucky team that struggled a lot more than people expected. I think people thought Kentucky would have a little better year than what they're having. They are getting 22.5 points, Lee, hosting Georgia. Your thoughts on that game?
So Kentucky, after their last win, to get to 6 wins, I think they relaxed. They thought, okay, we got 6 wins. Now we got Vanderbilt. We'll look ahead to the Georgia and Louisville games. And obviously a mistake. I don't think Will Levis has been 100% for most of the season. That's part of their problem. Actually, they missed Chris Rodriguez first 4 games. He was suspended. So when you play a team like Georgia, top 3-4 ranked team, you got to usually give it a couple extra points if you want to bet them. That's just the way Vegas works. They're going to make you pay a price. There's like a premium. It's like when we were buying cars during the pandemic. You had to pay, 5, 10, 15% more than you normally do. So
still do.
Yep. That's the way it is with top rated teams, popular teams. And so this line probably would have been 16.5 if Kentucky had won big and Georgia had not just totally dominated Tennessee and then also beat Mississippi State soundly. So combination has put a line here of 22.5 points. I think it's going to go up to 23.5. I think Kentucky's got a shot to keep it close here. The game last year, final was 30-13. That was at Georgia, and that was a Georgia team defense probably you see maybe once every 10, 20 years. It was that good. I still think they're very good.
Yeah.
But I think with Will Levis throwing the football, might be a top 5, top 10 pick. Chris Rodriguez running the football. I think they'll be able to move the ball some here. And then on top of that, Kentucky, very good at home. Much better team. 16-6 against the spread at home. Last 22 games. Crowd will be up for it. They have nothing to lose.
It's a night game, isn't it?
I'm not sure what the time is.
Yeah.
But
yeah, man, sometimes like these teams like Georgia can have it too easy, and then they have to go on the road and get in a little tougher environment and things don't go perfectly and they can get in a tighter game than people expect.
Game actually starts at 3:30.
3:30. So the second half might be in darkness.
Right.
And I think that helps the environment if Kentucky can hang in there in the first half and keep it close. That maybe the atmosphere in the second half brings them home for a cover. So even if they don't win the game,
So
All right.
I got a final like 31-17.
Okay.
Georgia winning the game, and potential client play for my clients also on that game.
All right, Miami fans. So you're getting a couple freebies here from Lee. You got 2 picks that might go to his clients. Lee, if they want more than that, and they got a thirst for more of your insight, obviously they see the website at the bottom of the screen, ParamountSports.com. They see the phone number 1-800-400-9741. Many times Lee will even answer the phone himself. Do you have any specials going this week?
I do. It's what's called our Baker's Dozen. Very popular promotion we put out a couple times a year. 13 games combined Saturday and Sunday, and I rate my games from 10 to 50 units. I might only have 4 or 5, 40 to 50 unit plays all year. I have my underdog play of the year, college football, going Saturday, a 45 unit selection. We're 3-1 so far this year on our 45 to 50 unit selections. I'll text you the game so you'll know it before game time if you want to tweet it out after the kickoff. And it's not like a 1, 2, 3 point underdog. It's a fairly sizable underdog
that would be totally grossly unfair.
Right.
If it was a 1 or 2 point underdog and that's your underdog pick of the season.
Right.
Come on, Lee. We would cry foul on that one.
Gary, there's people out there in my business that do it all the time, but I think a line's off probably a touchdown on this game that I'm looking at, and anyone wants to get involved, it's 13 games combined Saturday and Sunday. As soon as they purchase it, a window pops open with all the games, so you don't have to call me back Saturday or Sunday morning. And we've had some 12-1, 11-2, 10-3 finishes on the Baker's Dozen. So looking to hopefully do well. And we've won 11 out of 14 weeks. Give it a shot. ParamountSports.com under purchase picks.
All right, Lee. Well, thank you so much for your insight once again. And looking forward to this trip to Clemson. I'll be hitting the road on Friday, and it's one of my favorite venues in all of college football. And nothing like that 5-10 minutes before the game. I know Virginia Tech is known quite a bit for its atmosphere. Clemson is right there or exceeds it. And when that Clemson team comes rounding the corner on those buses, and it's just a real dramatic scene. And then Dabo comes flying down the hill. Right. Maybe he'll fall this time, Lee. Maybe he will fall, and we will see that carry over to the football game and the Miami Hurricanes. Maybe they'll cover the spread for the second week in a row. That would be a wonderful thing. So for Lee Sterling, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you once again for joining us. We'll see you next time, everybody.